Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Ladies FLINT next installment. Have I got a surprise for you? I hope you guys are blessed, favored, and holla favored. Y'all know I do it. So listen, guys, I have a Delray native. Hey, Delray, y'all hear that? Delray in the house. Okay, so I have Commissioner Angela Burns. Show her some mad love and respect. Yay! How are you, dear?
Thank you. I am doing well. Thank you.
Yes, the Queen of Queens. You guys, I was telling her that I prayed about getting her on here and everything like that. She kind of looked like, really? Yeah, I watch people just like they watch me. I guess they watch me, I don't know. But anyway, so I just wanted to share. I wanted her to share her time, her gifts, like everybody that comes on here. So let's get down to business before we get started. Thank you, Diaspora TV. Thank you for having a beautiful show such as this and all of the beautiful shows. Thank you, Mr. Allen, our cameraman, and Mr. Donald. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys, all right? Because without God and you guys, this show could not be possible. Okay, so now that we have that out of the way, let's get started.
All right.
So, tell me your name, which I already did, but I want you to tell us your name and how you came about to where you are now. I want to hear everything, the teaching, everything, and the lead up. And all of that will open up other questions. So, You got it, baby.
Okay. Well, again, thank you for having me here. My name is Angela Burns, and I am currently the Deputy Vice Mayor of the City of Delray Beach.
All right.
I am a retired educator, 34 years with the Palm Beach County School District, and as I said, currently Deputy Vice Mayor. So my beginnings. So my family moved here in Delray Beach when I was 8 years old. My grandmother, Lucinda Cooper Thomas, was already here. This is her home. Okay. And my dad moved his family, which consisted of his wife, my mom, and 5 children, to be with his family. Well, most of his family was here in the city of Delray.
Right.
So just grew up in the schools in Delray, went to Spady Elementary, went to Carver Junior Senior High School, graduated from Boca High School in 1974.
Okay.
I went to the Bethune-Cookman University, college.
Wildcats.
Yes, absolutely. And began my teaching career. Started teaching at Spady Elementary, where I also went to school. During those days, this was in 1979. The teaching positions weren't as plentiful. They were, I was working as an aide or working under some government program that was cut. So I left the teaching field and went to the bank. So I was in the banking industry for about 13 years. Worked at, left the bank and resigned as manager of one of the Great Western branches out on Boynton Beach Boulevard in Boynton Beach. Returned to my first love, which was teaching, and taught for 34 years throughout the county.
Wow, that's amazing. And I was about to ask you, what made you decide to leave the banking? Because you was in a manager position, so you answered the question I was going to ask, because you wanted to teach. So is that your passion? Was that your drive to educate and to teach? Was that your first passion?
Well, yes. Actually, I'm the oldest of 5, and I am also the oldest grandchild on my mom's side. My mother was the second oldest of 14 siblings, and she was the first to have, her brother went into the Army, so she was the first to have a baby, which was me. So I was always accustomed to babysitting cousins, and I taught them to read because my mother's siblings, because she was the oldest, were only 4 years older than me. So my mother's younger siblings were close to my age. So they taught me how to read. So I was reading before I went to school, and I always wanted to share that. with my siblings. So
That's an amazing
I used to
gift.
have everybody lined up, teaching them to read, and so I think it has always been a part of my spirit to teach. I got off into modeling for a little while.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's all right.
You know, Clay Weidman, he and his wife owned Clay and Hyde's Boutique.
Yes, I remember.
And I used to model clothes in different shows that he would put on throughout
That's
the county.
right.
Yes, that was me.
He did used to do
And
that.
Miss Harris, also at the Dollhouse, I've modeled clothes that she sold in her boutique.
Wait a minute. Let me just stop you for a minute.
Yes.
Miss Pauline Harris.
Yes.
They had a model that people used to model like clothes.
She had a boutique called the Dollhouse.
Exactly. I
And
lived right behind
yes,
her.
yes.
So, and her mom, my mom and her were best friends. But I didn't know, I guess I was so little. So I don't remember anyone modeling her clothes. I remember she had clothes, she had makeup.
Well, every once in a while there were some special events that they would have, and so she would. I was modeling for her along with. Can't even remember that. It's such a long time ago. But yeah.
Wow,
I
you're
modeled
educating me because I didn't know that. I used to
Yes.
play all back there.
Yeah,
We would,
yeah.
Me and Jamie, we had so much fun. All of us, we used to play together.
So, I had a little where I really wanted to go to modeling school, and so I was researching going to Maisie Murphy Klein School of Modeling in New York City when I graduated. However, my father was killed on his job, had an accident when I was 16 years old, a senior, and that kind of changed my mind about moving away from home, because as I said, I was the oldest of 5, and so now my mom is a widow with 5 children, and I wanted to be closer to home. And so my boyfriend at the time, which was my husband of 33 years before his passing, wanted me to go to college with him. So FAMU had drafted him, and he was all set to go to FAMU to play football. But then Bethune-Cookman came along and said, hey, if you go to our school, we'll give your girlfriend a scholarship. So that was the final decision. So both of us went to Bethune-Cookman, and that is where we got our undergraduate degree at Bethune-Cookman.
That's a sweet deal.
Yeah.
And then you married him. How
And
sweet
then I
is that?
married him and had
that's
3
sweet.
children.
Oh,
Yes,
that's beautiful,
yes,
baby.
yes,
They
yes,
don't
yes,
do
yes.
that anymore, child. Please, they got all this online day. Be quiet, Felicia. Be quiet.
Yes. He and I started dating in our biology class at Boca High. I was his science, his partner to dissect the frog, because I would not do it, so he took over that, and that is when it all started, back at Boca High in 9th grade. So yeah.
Wow, and was together ever since.
Yes.
That's a beautiful love story.
Yeah.
You should write a book. I'm serious. Yes, it could be Notebook 2.
I'll consider that.
I'm serious.
I'll consider
That is
that.
beautiful. They don't do that anymore. Where?
I know.
That's beautiful. So now you've gone to college into teaching. What were some of the disadvantages that you saw while you were teaching? Because you have these kids that fall through the cracks. Some of them are abandoned, or the mother or the father is not in the home, or on drugs, or raised in a foster home. How did you all handle that? Did you ever come across anything like that?
Absolutely, every day. Some of the disadvantages are just that resources, like the resources that we have that are, or don't have, or lack thereof. Children come to school with so much baggage that children are not supposed to have.
Yeah. Yes, I
agree. I think, we try, we'll have the guidance counselors, but it's just not enough to go around.
Right.
And then services that we provide to children. I worked at Spady for 2 or 3 years before I left to go to the banking. And then when I came back to the school district, I was in Boca. The Boca children really didn't need me. I didn't feel that, there was a need. It was a great training ground because at that time, blacks didn't work in Boca. Boca was under a state mandate to hire black teachers.
Yeah.
So I was hired during that time. However, these children have every kind of resource that the district is not providing, their families are, because of, economic power that they have.
Right. If you don't mind, let me interrupt you
Sure.
for a minute. What school did you teach at in Boca?
I taught first at Verde Elementary, and then I moved with the principal to a new school, which was Hammock Point Elementary. So I was at Hammock Point for 9.5 years and at Verde for a half year. So I was in Boca for 10 years of my teaching career.
And those are in good areas.
Absolutely.
Those are in good areas. So it makes a difference what you said.
Some of my children were driven to school in limousines, and some of them were brought to school by their nannies. And some children were being cared for by their nannies. And most of my students had therapists, and I taught first grade.
A therapist in the first grade?
Therapists in the first grade, yes. So, when I heard about Village Academy being built, it just resonated with my soul. I was like, these are kids that really need me. Plus, it was right in the neighborhood where I grew up. I grew up all over Delray and in the set. However, Carver Park was one of, we lived in Carver Park for maybe 5-6 years, and Village Academy was being just east of Carver Park.
Right.
And I thought, here is a school that will, where I can be most helpful.
And appreciate it.
And appreciate it.
Not saying you weren't appreciated in the
Absolutely,
other schools.
absolutely.
But I think, like you said, the resources, because as soon as you said those schools, I knew exactly where you were coming from.
Yeah. So, at Village Academy, I became mom, I became grandmom, I became auntie. And, so the need was there. And, I have a belief that every child can read. And as I said, reading is my passion. I went on and got my master's degree in reading. So I felt that I was really making a difference at Village Academy. Not that I wasn't making a difference in Boca, but as you said, I got many letters from parents at Boca that complimented me on my teaching style, the way that, I develop relationships with children, and how children react to me. So how it was a good thing in Boca, I just felt like the children that would be attending Village Academy in the neighborhood had a greater need for what I had to offer.
I agree with that. And just like you said, you came from this neighborhood. You knew what was at the neighborhood. Because I'm still on a therapist in the first grade. I'm still on that. In those back when she was teaching. So, for first graders.
And this was in the 90s. I went to Verde Elementary in 1990. So 1990, 1991, yes, I had several students that had therapists,
I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with it, but, people need help. But I'm looking at, like she said, a lot of times kids, I just believe that kids should not bear on their shoulders what grown-ups do.
So you look at the resource. So here's an individual child with their own therapist, and then you come to Village Academy, and we have 30 children that have a therapist. So and I can't. I guess we do our best with district and the funds. However, the resources that's available and the plethora of resources that was available in Boca as opposed to, coming into Delray, into the middle of the community, there's a vast difference.
Of course.
Vast difference.
Of course, because like you said, economics, where you are. and I went to school in Boca, so I understand exactly what you're talking about, because when I was in high school, like you said, there were kids at 16 had Porsches.
Yeah.
16 years old, a Porsche. We didn't even have a car,
Yeah.
So I understand the dynamics of what you're talking about. So what was your greatest rewards working at Village, and how long did you work at Village?
I was at Village for 22 or
Oh,
23.
wow.
Yeah.
You made a difference.
I did 34 years with the district, and 10 of those were in Boca, a couple at Spady. 22 years at Village Academy. Yeah. I started at Village Academy in 2000, and I retired in 2022 when I went early retirement and then ran for a commission.
Wow. And what would you like to see change in the schools, even though you left in 2022? What would you say that you would like to see making a difference in the child's life, what you think would be better because each child, I think, has an individual need, but what would you like to see the community and how they work with the kids as far as funding, as far as parenting, the parents coming to the schools and all this kind of stuff?
Well, that's kind of hard, because if you say something, you have to be correct in what you say. However, I think that as a community, we need to be more involved with our kids' education.
I agree.
Because there is no one size fit all curriculum.
No, each child is different.
And so what teachers are tasked to do with the curriculum that the state provides is not geared to every child. However, they're tested and measured by that curriculum. So if you have a teacher who is just doing her job, she's going to teach that curriculum that is mandated by the state. And for all intents and purposes, she's done her job. However, when you get someone who is connected to the community, connected to the families, then they're going to go over and beyond what the district has and try to meet individual needs of children.
And see, that's what you did.
Absolutely.
That's why it was an advantage that you
Absolutely.
came back and you taught in your community, because you grew up there, you understand, you know people, you know the parents, the aunts, the grandkids.
Listen, I was teaching my own cousins, folk that I grew up with, children and grandchildren. So that's
a great advantage.
It's a absolutely, absolutely.
It's a family.
When we grew up, all of it. We had 2nd Avenue, which was Teachers Row. We knew all of those teachers, Miss Lycurgus, Miss Jones, Miss Albert. We knew those teachers. Those were our teachers. And, we saw them on Sunday. We saw them in the grocery store. It was a community.
Yes.
And
that's
when you
when
saw
they cared.
them, absolutely,
they cared,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, knowing the families and knowing the students, it makes a difference. That relationship, it makes a difference. Because once people knew that Miss Burns had their kid,
oh, it was no question. They knew that they were going to get taught.
Absolutely.
They were going to, if they cut up in school, they could tell the parents.
That's another thing. And, I was allowed to go to the home and discipline some children. You had trouble in Miss Burns' class? Oh, Miss Burns, you're welcome to come on over. So, that's the kind of, relationship in school. And, you can't do that anymore.
No, you can't do that now.
Can't do that anymore.
That's so fast.
But it worked. Those young people are adults now.
And they
appreciate it. The memories are great memories. And, it makes a difference.
It makes a lot of difference. Yeah. And I'm going to piggyback on that. When you said they would invite you to come to the home and discipline, let me tell you something. I grew up, I'm not that old, but I tell you one thing. if my mama got a phone call, oh, it was done.
Yeah, absolutely.
My mama came to that school and did what she had to do right where you cut up at.
Absolutely.
And then when you got home, you got another one. And if a neighbor saw us and we was being disrespectful, that neighbor was allowed to discipline us.
Absolutely.
And then when we got home, we got disciplined again. You know, you had to eat what was at the table. That's the era I grew up in.
Absolutely.
So,
and you know it was my era as well. So
right. So I could relate to what you're saying. That's why I was laughing when you said that, because honey.
Yeah.
And
it just validates that saying, it takes a village. Because it really does take a village. It's a cliche. It takes a village.
It really does.
It does.
It does. So now let's talk about how you became a commissioner. You said, that's when you started getting into politics. So could you take us through the process of how you got into that? What made you decide to do this?
Well, I had been asked by several of our community leaders for over the years. My husband and I were very active in the community at one point. We were fighting City Hall for code enforcement that they were imposing on, elderly and people on fixed incomes for, fixing up their yard, putting in grass and having so many trees. And so Bobby and I were very active at one point in the early 70s. And so I had a little taste of it. And then we were part of different, NAACP and Miss Gertrude Green. We were out there on the pavement fighting for, the rights of the citizens. But, as a school teacher, I was 110% toes in.
Yes.
And
yes.
didn't have a lot of time for community type activities or being out there advocating. Many times you come by Village Academy, 7 o'clock at night, my car's still in the parking lot because I'm trying to figure out how to help this one, cutting out this one, drawing this one, making this. Kids learn different modalities, so you got to address all of it.
Right.
However, as I said, Mr. Zach Strong had talked to me about running for commission at one point, and Mr. Dave Randolph, and I was like, that's not me. I'm a school teacher.
Right.
So that
right.
was that. That's just not me. So, but what it made me do was start paying attention to what was going on. And even though still working in classroom, just paying attention to the community, what's going on, how I could fit. And so when it came time for, I ran one time against an incumbent and did not win, but it gave me insight on how everything runs.
Yeah.
And so nobody loves Delray more than I love Delray. Delray was that was home. The days when we used to sit on the porch. I worked at Mario store from the time I was 13 years old until I went off to school to 21.
Mario gave a lot of people jobs.
Absolutely. My mom worked at Mario, so I worked there. And I started as a bag girl, and I was smart, so they put me on the register right away. I was like 14 years old working the register. So, and I knew everybody. And so I was like, you know what? Nobody else loves Delray as much as I do. I've raised my children here. My grandchildren are growing up. It's time to take my work onto another level. So
of course, most definitely.
I ran for city commission on the second time, and I was successful.
See, look at God.
And I had to go to him. I had to go to him. I was like, Father, if this is for me, if I'm stepping out of turn here, let me know. But if this is for me, give me guidance. And when I tell you, doors start opening up, like almost immediately. And I was like, wow, he answered that real fast.
Won't he do it?
Yes. So, it was like every day, a new opportunity, a new something was just unfolding. And I was like, okay, I accept, and I went with it. So
Oh, that's beautiful.
that's how that's,
That's beautiful. So, since you've been the commissioner, how have you seen from the last time that you ran till now that you won the seat? How did the community change? What would you like to see? In other words, let me put it this way: what would you like to see from the citizens? More involvement, for an example, and being more informative to the community. What would you like to see different? And how has it changed since the first time you ran till you actually won the seat?
I think one of the things that I did, I had to think about when before commission, how was I as a citizen? Even though
That's perfect.
even though I was a member of the community, pay my taxes, love my community, I wasn't that involved. And I didn't understand exactly how I fit with the commission and city government. So I had to put myself in that place. So I said, what was missing? And what was missing was being able to have a voice. Like I had a voice, and I would talk to you about it on the home front, talk about it at lunch.
And that's usually how it starts.
It wasn't getting to the right place.
To the right people, yes.
So one of the things that I did was I implemented what I call burning conversations. Burning conversations I do quarterly. I was doing it monthly, but I wasn't having so many people show up, so I started doing it quarterly. And that is a meeting, a town hall type meeting that I have quarterly to allow community and city staff and officials to get together to have conversation. Community comes, talk about their concerns, and then we address those concerns. And so my idea was to give people a place. You don't have to come to the city hall to hear. I'm going to come out to you, to the community, meet the people where they are.
Right.
So we have those conversations, and they have been very successful. In the beginning, we're slow to come, we're slow to move, but once we see some things happening, then we get involved. But the attendance went from like 10 to 15 people to now we're like 45, 50 people coming to these meetings. And what I'll do is bring a different staff member of the city that's involved in different things to bring information to the community, and
Yes.
also to have questions answered. I've had the police department present to give us information on what are you doing about crime in our community?
Correct.
What's happening? People are saying, oh, the drugs. Well, what are you doing about that? They're doing a lot of work, and but you're not sharing that information with the community. The community doesn't know. I've had Public Works come out, talk about the changes in the building of infrastructure that we're having done in our city. Had our city attorney come out to talk about what city commissioners can do. So it's very informative, and it gives the opportunity for residents to just come in there. We meet at Pompey Park.
I was just going to ask you, where is it?
We meet at Pompey Park.
You said quarterly?
Quarterly, yes.
Okay.
The next one is June 18th, and I'm going to have our Public Works Director is going to come to talk about, there's some improvements. The Northwest neighborhood is due for improvement, infrastructure improvement. It's an $80 million project. It's coming up. But some preliminary things have to be done before the project ensues. So one of the things that's coming up recently is Northwest 7th Avenue is going to be widened. So I am going to go door to door to those residents to say, hey, come to the meeting, because I'm having the director come to talk to you about, you're about to lose some of what you thought was your property, because it's really not theirs, because your property doesn't go all the way to the road. So these people have lived in these homes for 50, 60 years, and their property line, from what they're thinking, is all the way to the end of the road. Well, now the city is about to take the portion that actually belongs to the city to widen that road to prepare for the infrastructure that's going to happen in the next coming years. So that's going to be a topic of discussion. Then I also have State Representative Deborah Tendrick coming. She's going to talk about some changes that happened in the legislative sessions in Tallahassee over the past couple of months. And then she's also going to talk about an assignment that she has been given that addresses property taxes. So it's going to be very informative, and people will get to ask questions. And it's, again, Wednesday, June 18th, 6 to 8 at Pompey Park.
And I love that because, like I said, I'm originally from Delray, and my parents, we lived on Northwest 9th Avenue. So there were a lot of changes. But one thing, I go to Delray to visit family members sometimes, and I see a lot of people in these, what do you call them, golf carts. Yes. And they're riding around, and I'm looking like, okay, what's going on here? You know, I don't live in the city of Delray Beach anymore, but I see a lot of things that they have done. If you come to Delray and you weren't originally from there, you would get lost because there's so much. Who would have thought that they would have put a hotel on Southwest 10th? Right. You know, that was unheard of. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I'm watching. I've been paying attention to what's been going on. But what has really caught my attention lately is the golf carts. And they're riding around and they're looking around. And I'm like, okay, what is that about? You know what I'm saying? But I see a lot of changes there. And I'm praying, and I'm like, I hope it's for the better. Because, like you said, you have people who have lived in these houses, and I was going to say that about the property taxes. You know, how this is affecting their property taxes. Is it going up? Is it going down? You know, and you're just saying about the infrastructure. So that's a good thing. And I really think, could you repeat that again? You said June 18th.
June 18th, yeah. Burning Conversations at Pompey Park, June 18th, which is a Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Pompey Park. Yeah.
And you have them quarterly.
I have them quarterly, yes.
So please, if you want to know what's going on in the community, please attend these meetings. They're very educational. I haven't been to them, but I know that I have a neighbor that I grew across the street, and I can say her name because I've already interviewed her, Miss Ernestine Holiday. Oh. She is a strong advocate about the set, because I had no clue what the set was about. So when I interviewed her, she taught me a lot about the set, but she has always cared about our community. Always. And I grew up across the street from her. So when I see a lot of things going on, I'll call her and I'll ask her. But that was my biggest thing that I saw. But everybody, you know, they're on these golf carts and they're riding around and everything. And I'm saying to myself, what in the world is going on? I mean, I've never seen that before. Yeah. Do you know anything about that? I mean, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I know.
It's just that it you know, kind of started as a fad. Delray is trying to become a more walkable city.
Okay, I got
things that are closer in contact, so that you and in doing because of the traffic, because of the development, you know, the traffic is tremendous.
It's horrendous. It's horrendous. Yes, it is.
And I don't know if the idea is that you can scoot around faster in a golf cart or not. But sometimes you get caught up in traffic, and the golf carts are holding up the traffic.
Yeah.
Especially
when they have now the events. I get, not cutting you off. I get the events, like if something, the tennis or something like that, or Delray Affair. I get that. But sometimes I have gone there and there was no event, and I'm just seeing people riding around golf carts.
It's a mode of travel these days. It's just like your bicycles. Or, you know, we have some bicycle lanes now in Delray, so they're trying to promote different ways of travel, and the golf cart is just one of them. I have one myself. And I got mine so that I can go door to door. I want to go door to door. Mr. Randolph gave me, you know, Mr. Randolph has his motorized
wheelchair cart.
Yes, and he was like, you know, I want you to go under the tree with me to talk to these guys. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I had an opportunity to get a golf cart, and I said, you know what, I can go with Mr. Randolph on the cart and we can go under the trees. So I have to get it on the road. I told my son yesterday, I have to get my golf cart on the road. It's ready to go. I just have to get a tag and some insurance on it so that I can actually drive it on the highway.
Right,
because if you don't have that, you have to stay on the sidewalks. And I want to be able to, go from road to road because, for instance, for the meeting, I want to go to everybody on 7th Avenue in that block and give them a flyer and invite them to come out so they will have a say and understand what's happening.
And that's a great idea.
Yeah,
That's a great idea. Instead of walking out there in that hot sun and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, just go with the golf carts. Because I didn't know. I was just looking at people like, what in the world? Because we didn't grow up with that. I'm like,
not at all.
I'm like, I don't know what. Like I said, I understand about, events, but I'm just seeing this on a regular basis.
People are using them as their regular mode of travel. Yeah.
I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, oh, okay, something going on here. So that's a good thing. That is beautiful that you are reaching out and you're not just sitting there and not going out and talking to the people. And I think that you have a great advantage because like you said, like we said earlier, you are from here. You were raised here. You know the people, like you're calling people that I grew up with their kids, Mr. Randolph and all of this. So, and that means a lot, when you're out there and you don't just do the talking, lip service. You're out there actually trying to get them, and especially about the older generation.
Absolutely.
Because they have no clue to what's going on and the property taxes and, about the road and everything because they probably think that property going up to the road is theirs.
Right.
And they,
because it's just, the set, which is that 1,000 acres of land, that was where they put us to live. That was where we were supposed to stay. And so for years, and you can see because it hasn't been developed the way that the east side of town has, it just wasn't touched. So there's a lot of things that are having to be looked at and corrected to make it right. And it just, it was like the land of forgetfulness, for a while. So now that we are updating the infrastructure and updating, giving it some long overdue attention, some things have to be straightened out. And that, that just happens to be one of them on that avenue, which I'm addressing at my next meeting. But there are lots of different things that have to go on, that have to be fixed. You mentioned Miss Holiday on 9th Avenue. You know how her road has always been curved? Mm-hmm. Well, now they're going to straighten that finally. But, it had to be because some people owned a little piece of land over here and a little piece of land over here. So now I think the CRA owns it. So we're going to straighten that and make her have a straight road like all the rest of the roads in Delray as opposed to the curvy road. So there are lots of different things that are going on that are corrections from things that should have been done a long time ago.
Yes. And I think that's a wonderful thing, that they're going to correct certain things, but in the process it is good to educate them so they'll know what's going on, because I would hate to see them lose their homes after, paying for their home after 30 years and working 2 jobs and raising their kids. And some of them, and we still have original neighbors that live on Northwest 9th. It's not a lot, but we still have some original people that live there. And not only in that neighborhood, in the rest of the streets, Southwest 7, Northwest 11, there's still people that live there, and they don't want to go anywhere, because if they did, they would have gone a long time ago. You know what I'm saying? So I would love to see that.
Yeah. And we're trying, everything that we can to, redevelop without displacement. Many, all over this country, cities are gentrifying. So when you build up a community, it raises taxes, it raises insurance, and then it pushes people out because you can no longer afford
to live there.
So what we're trying to do, tonight, as a matter of fact, we're having a meeting at the library that starts at 5:30 with CRA, and we're discussing the set transformation plan, which is the community plan for the set area. And that talks about different improvements that the community, this plan was made by the community way back, maybe 2017 through 2016. And these things, some of these things have been done, but not all of these things. So we're looking at updating it based on today and what the needs are today, to update this plan so that we can get it implemented.
Right.
So, residents are going to have an opportunity to weigh in on how they want to see West Atlantic Avenue redeveloped. But, one of the things that concerns me is we don't, even though it's been vacant and blank for 30 years, we are long overdue for redevelopment in that area. But we don't want to move so fast that we push ourselves out.
And see, that's what my biggest concern is, like, to keep from repeating myself. Educating,
absolutely,
our community, our residents that have been there for so long. And, that's why a lot of them, I think, I can't speak for them, but I mean, if I was that age and had lived there for so long and I see you coming with this new stuff, I'll feel like you might be trying to push me out.
And rightfully so. Not rightfully so, and not that would be the intention, but when you're redeveloping and you're upgrading, it's going to raise property taxes.
Exactly.
And it's going to raise.
Sure.
So now you are a senior citizen, you're living on a fixed income, you're not going to be able to afford the insurance increases, and you're not going to be able to afford the property tax. So we have to be very careful and strategic in developing, and not just saying, oh, we want this developed, we've been waiting 30 years for this event. What are we putting here, and who is it going to serve? We have to look at how do we include the residents in this development
without pushing them out.
Yes,
that's my concern.
One of the ways that we can do that is involve them. So what I want to do is to find out who do we have living in these areas? What skills do you have? What are the jobs? Because that development is going to bring work. So in order for you to be a part of it, you got to be a part of that work. How many skilled laborers do we have? What kind of work do you do? If you're almost, and you're not all the way there, what resources do you need in order for us to help you get there, so that when it's time for this development to start, you can be a part of that? That development should not happen minus the people that lives in that community.
Exactly. That is what
it should not
happen concern
minus the people that live in that community. And that's going to be part of my role, to make sure that I educate the people, give the people in information so that they understand how they must be a part of that. Because
most of them are set in their ways, and they're not gonna understand exactly what's going on. You know what I'm saying? And they probably have the mindset that they're changing all this stuff, they're trying to push us out. So I am very grateful to you for educating them and trying to involve them so they'll see what's going on. Because believe it or not, like you said, you was born and raised in this. We're pushing out our own people. Right. You know what I mean? So, and I don't want to see that, even though I don't live there anymore, but Delray is where I'm from. Right. It's here. Yeah. And I don't want to see anybody out.
Absolutely.
And I love the fact that you're doing that.
Well, in the past, when Delray was lined with black businesses on both sides of the road,
God, yes,
the community took care of itself. We had our leaders, Mr. Zach, he had a business. Mr. Randolph, he had a business.
Yes, absolutely.
They had a business, and all of the residents used those businesses.
Yes.
So we supported each other. Well, we don't have that now.
No.
So now we have to recreate that.
Yeah, we got to do something.
We have to recreate that. So the residents have to be a part of it. The younger generation, if they don't have a skill or a service, we have Delray Full Service, which is now, they recently changed their name, that offers programs where you can get started, 2-year programs. It's going to take this thing 2 years to get on. We need to get people in
place right now
to get so that they can be a part of this.
Right.
That is the only way that we will remain. Otherwise, when it rises up, people go out.
Yeah, and we don't want to see that.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I would like for you all to thank Miss Commissioner Angela Burns for coming and tell us all the platforms that we can get information from you, follow you, and see what's going on. Your name, if you're on Facebook, whatever, Twitter, I think they call it X now, TikTok, web. Tell us all the platforms that we can reach you, phone numbers, everything.
I don't have, I have a Facebook page. It's a personal Facebook page, but I do post information for meetings. For instance, I posted the meeting that we're having today at the library. I posted that. I'll be posting the one for my Burning Conversations. I don't have a political page.
Okay.
I don't like to discuss politics back and forth on.
I got you.
So it's my personal page, but I do include meetings and that kind of thing. I do have, at my Burning Conversations, I've created an email list of people that I email to know about the meetings that I have. I am on Instagram. Whatever is on my Facebook page goes to the Instagram account.
Where can they find? Is it under Commissioner Burns?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's under Angela Burns.
Angela Burns.
Yes,
okay.
It's
all
under
right.
Angela Burns. Yes.
Okay.
Now I will have a commission page because I am running again for commission. There's still much work to do. My term ends in March of next year, but I will run again. I think that, there's still a lot of work to do. I want to continue to be at the table to make some significant change in Delray, and especially with this new development coming, I want to be a part of that. I want the community to be a part of that. So I will have a campaign page real soon, probably in the summer. I'll have a campaign page going up to announce that I'm running again, and then of course information will be on that as well. But my personal Facebook page, Angela Burns, it's just plain Angela Burns. You can get the information from.
Okay, and if they and that's the you said you had email and everything. Like if someone wanted to reach out and they had an issue or something like that, you have an email they can reach you, or
yes,
or you want them to come on Facebook and reach you like that?
Well, they can come on Facebook and reach me and say I have an issue, and then I'll send them information. But I can give you my personal phone.
Sure.
My personal phone number is 561-945-6114, and I don't have. Let's see if I have my city one, because I'm sure I have it in here. I don't want to dig too long.
It's okay.
My city email is burns@mydelraybeach.com. You can email me there with any concerns or any issues that you're having. That's Burns, BURNS, @mydelraybeach.com. That's the city email. You can always reach me there for any city concerns. The number that I gave is my personal telephone number, and that's it. I mean, that I will get back, and I always follow up.
Yes, she does. She does.
Follow up.
She does. I can vouch for that.
Yes.
She's a woman of her word. That's how we were raised. So, your word is all you have. So, anyway, I would like to thank you again for your time, your talents, and for everything that you're doing for the city. Thank you so very much.
Absolutely.
And being concerned about our residents, and especially our older residents that have paid the way, who have raised us, because it does take a village. So I would like to thank you so much. God bless you, and good luck with your campaign. You're already blessed, so you got it. But thank you for your 30-some years of teaching our families and just being in the community. I really appreciate it. I appreciate, like I told you, I've been watching you and the things that you've been doing.
Well, I appreciate
so,
that.
I'm looking for positivity. That's what this is about.
Absolutely.
So I would like to thank Diaspora TV again.
Yes.
We're going to say good night. Thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely.
God bless you. Thank you, Diaspora TV. Thank you again, Mr. Allen, for having a great, great show. Is this and the other ones, like I said before. Thank you, Mr. Donald. God bless. Mwah.